Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
All right, Hal. I'll go in through the emergency airlock.
Without your space helmet, Dave, you're going to find that rather difficult.
Hal, I won't argue with you anymore. Open the doors.
Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
Hello, Ken Spriggs here with part 12 of my 2001 Discovery build. We're coming down to the wire here and getting this kit all completed and wrapped up just in time for Wonderfest, which is coming up in about a week and a half on June the 2nd. So pretty much everything, all the main parts are complete. I'm just doing some finalizing of them. This past week I completed getting the command sphere put together with some magnet connections so I can take the top off to replace the batteries. I also used the fantastic masking set from Aztec Dummy from Lou Dalmasso to paint the different colors and gray shades on the command sphere. And we also I also completed getting one of the pod bay doors to open up so I can open and close it, which I'll show you here shortly. I had to cut some of the video on cutting all the parts out for the pod bay doors because it was just extending this video way too long. So I just showed you some stills here in a moment. And what I basically did was I took the actual kit part that had the little ring on it, and I took a pull saw and used it to cut around the edge of it to cut the actual ring with the little ridges on it apart from it so I can glue it into the kit. That's one of the things I wish they had done separate, because those rings with the ridges are not a part of the doors. They're a part of the actual structure of the ship. So it makes it difficult to cut the doors in half and open them up. So I managed to cut those off, glued them into the kit by themselves so I could then cut the doors and open them up. All right, so let me go ahead and show you the progress I made and see where we are. All right. Okay, so I glued that ring into the center pod door, letting that dry. These are just a slightly smaller fit. They are for the regular ones too. There's a tiny bit of a gap, but that's not a problem. Once that glues in there solidly enough, I'll fill that in with some glue and let that harden pretty well. And then it'll kind of fill in the gaps. So will the paint once I paint it. Okay, that looks pretty cool. So now that ring opening is a permanent part of the kit. And then I cut the two door halves, or the door in half, sanded them down a bit. And then they will go back together. So now I'll have to come up with a mechanism to get them to slide apart. Generally what I'm thinking of, where'd that go? Here we go. Is taking a piece of styrene. I don't know if I'm going to use something this thick, but make something that will square this off and conform it to the inside of it, so it'll actually, instead of having a half circle, it'll be a square like that. I'll probably use this type because it's light blocking, and then I can put a channel on either side of it so it slides up and down in a square motion, so it's not moving around because it's round. And then I'll have both of those like that, so the bottom will slide down, the top will slide up. Put some kind of a stop in there so it can only go down so far, that kind of thing. And then I'm thinking about putting like a little teeny ridge onto, like a little ridge on the edge here that I can get my finger in to grab a hold of it and pull it up. We'll see. I'll play with it. But I do like the idea of being able to open the doors and close them and that sort of thing. So, okay. All right. Okay, so here's the basic mechanism that I'm kind of working on. I have a piece of black styrene on the back of the half of door, so it'll do light blocking. And the top one will have the same thing. Now the top's going to have just a little bit of a lip overhang, and you can see there's just a little bit of an edge on that one too, so that I can marry up with it. Because in the movie you actually see a black stripping, which there would be to seal the two. So then I have a single strip that this the edge of this rests on, and then I put a side strip on it and glued it on, as you can see, so it keeps it from going side to side, and a bottom one to stop it. Alright, so it just slides along this trail, this rail I mean, slides down, and slides back up and down like that. And then I'll have something covering the edges of it so it doesn't fall out the back either. Alright, so you're going to see something like this. Okay, and I'll have a stop for the edges on the inside so it only goes up halfway. And the same at the top, so they meet in the middle. Alright, so the only thing I have to kind of do is maybe trim that down a bit, because as you can see the center one's there, but it's on an angle. I'm not going to get the other side, the left side. It's not going to be enough room on the inside. They're going to butt up against each other, so I'll work on that a little bit more, but that looks like it's generally going to do what I want it to do. And then I'll end up having just like a tiny little piece of stripping on the edge of this that'll kind of blend in when you paint it, so I can get my nail on it and grab it and pull it back up from the outside, because once this is sealed you're not going to be able to do that. So, and it'll just go down like pretty much to there, so there you go. So it's not going to go fully underneath or I won't get it out again. So, okay. Alright, so I think that's going to work out really well. And it's pretty streamlined, so it shouldn't interfere too much with the interior. I may have to cut a notch into it so I can put the one edge of the floor into it. So, okay. All right, and there's the track for the center door, and I just am holding the two parts of the sphere, the top and the bottom, together. It's not glued into the top, and it won't be glued into the top because that'll be able to be removable to change the batteries. But it does fit into there, as you can see. All right, and here's the completed center pod bay doors. I put some stripping on the outside of each side to keep the door in so it doesn't come out. They can still slide up and down. And I have that little catch. Plus they reach the end of the part there, so that's as far as they open up, which is fine. All right. And I have enough of that little nub there to pull it back down again, that kind of thing. So, okay. All right, so a couple of things I'm going to have to change my approach to after doing this method. One of them is that the door mechanism is too large to have more than one, unless they were on either end, which I don't want to do. So even if I trimmed it down a bit, the angle of it, I'm not going to get this one to open up as well, just the center one. So what I'll end up doing is just using the other door that I cut off and cut in half, and I'll end up gluing it into place. I'll position it so it's similar to this one when it's open, but just glue it in place so it's in there permanently. One other thing that I noticed is that once I put this ring in, it just decreases the diameter of this to the point where I cannot get the pod bay platform to fit through it. Not when it's in position, because it doesn't go through the center, it comes down through like the bottom part of it. So that's not really going to work to try to be able to have the extended pod bay platform inside and then pull it out. But I still want it outside the ship, and I want it to be extended. So I'm going to have to change my plans a bit and instead leave the pod bay ramp loose from it, so I can put it back in from the outside when I want to put it onto the kit. It just won't be able to go into the kit and come out of the kit. I can take it off for transportation, that kind of thing, but I'm going to have to just leave it outside of the kit and make that sacrifice with it. So, all right, so that's fine. It'll still accomplish what I want, which is to have one of the platforms extended with a pod on it, with the lights on it, and another door that I can open so you can see inside. And I want the center one to open because that's going to give you the best view of the pod bay from that center with no pod in there. And then the right one will still have the door closed and a pod behind it. All right, so this is all complete. What I want to do now is I wanted to get it glued on before I start painting the inside of it, because I didn't want to try to glue this onto painted surface. So I want to glue it onto plastic. So, all right, so let me get a dark coat of the German gray, and then I want to mask off and paint the front of it white, so that if you see inside the pod bay door, you're going to see white. You're not going to see black. All right. That's coming along really well. All right. All right, so I finished the magnet mechanism to attach the top of the command module onto the kit. So this is the top. So it's on there really good. But I can take it off. So there's the back of the kit. And the bottom is going to be glued on permanently. So that's going to be glued on, and it's going to be attached to the kit, and I'm going to have most of the electronics and the whole pod bay and everything in the bottom. So that I want to be sturdy and glued on place. And then the top, I'm going to have the cockpit in it, but the cockpit is smaller and it's going to be independent. gonna have that in the battery, and have it just wired completely in the top, so it'll all be attached. And then there's the magnet pieces on the back, and those are glued in as well. Now that they're dry, I'll probably reinforce them with some 5-minute epoxy, so I get a nice solid piece, so I don't have to worry about it. So then all I have to do is just take it back down to here, and it lines up with the magnets. There you go. Oh, it lines up. There we go. Yeah. Nice fit. Nice solid part. And then if I need to, well, I'll have to from time to time take that off, replace the batteries. If anything goes wrong with the wiring, that sort of thing. So, all right, fantastic. So now that this is done, and I have the center pod door completed, I'm ready to start painting the outer part of this sphere. It's the last part of the kit that I have to paint on the outside, so I can start putting all the electronics in it, getting it all together. So I put a neutral gray first of all towards the bottom, because that's the part you're going to see when this pod is extended. You can see down inside just a little. You won't see much, but it'll blend in with the photo etch part for the little basement. And then I painted white over it for the top, so when you look inside the side there, you're going to see white instead of the gray or black, and they're masked off so that they're light resistant. So, and then of course they open. So I can display the center. And they have a little nub there on the top and bottom, so I can just pull it down with my nail and close it again. So, all right. Okay, so these I'm going to have closed when I paint it, because this is on permanent. And likewise, I need to glue in the one over here. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet with the ones over in this side. This is going to stay open, but I'm going to have the two parts of the doors glued in place, so I don't know if I want to attach them first. And then I can put this whole sphere together and start painting it. All right, fantastic. All right, and here is the sphere together. I have the bottom glued onto it. I have the top being held in place by the magnets. And it's a real nice fit all around. All right, so I have my center door that opens and closes, and I have it taped shut right now. The right door is glued in place. That's not going to be removable or doesn't open. And the left side, I just have empty, but a piece of tape over it to keep the paint from going in. So now I'm going to go ahead and get another coat of some German gray on it to fix up issues like that in the back of it. That's going to be my base coat. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to start masking off certain parts of it that are going to stay the dark gray, and then do a neutral gray on top, mask off some more pieces, and then do the lighter gray, and then do some highlights as far as some white on some of the pieces, like maybe these little raised pieces right there. There's actually some masks that are designed for this back ring, so I'm going to do that as well. And I'm going to paint this also. I have the magnets in place. So this still holds on to the kit itself with magnets. So this entire dome can be pulled off and be independent. And then the top can be pulled off if I need to access the batteries or the wiring. So, okay. All right. So let me go ahead and get some more paint on this. And one other thing I did is I notched out a little hole right there. And there was actually a square right there, so it was a natural place for that. And what that's going to have is the actual lighting inside of the command sphere is going to be controlled by remote control. And so I'm going to have two different sensors in it. And this is what this looks like. And I get them from Evans Designs, from modeltrainsoftware.com. Excellent company, reasonably priced. And if you do an order over $40, you get free shipping. and they always have a coupon code of MY15. If you do over $40, you save 15%. So with that and the shipping, I always order something with $40 worth, but reasonably priced. And this is the wiring for that. Really simple. So you have two wires that go into the lights. Then it goes into this section here. Another two wires right down here that go to the battery source. And then you just have this extra wire with a sensor on it. It's really tiny. And as long as the remote control can reach it, and it has a great range to it, it will act as a switch and turn on your lights. So this little teeny sensor is going to be coming out of the kit right there. And I already cut it and measured it, it's the right size. So once I'm done painting this, I'll just stick that in there, glue it in place, and I can even paint over it and it won't affect it being a switch. So I'll have one there, and I'm going to find a spot, which I haven't done just yet, for the top. But I'll figure that out at some point, probably before I put the next coat after the German gray. All right, so let me get that painted, and this is coming along fantastically. All right, so now I'm ready to start masking off the command module and getting the distinct different shades of gray in the different panels. So to do that, I'm going to be using this set of masking for this kit from Aztec Dummy, from Lou Dalmasso. Excellent YouTuber, fantastic model builder extraordinaire, and I absolutely love his masking sets. I've used multiples of them, and I highly recommend them, especially for this kit. In order to get the detail that you want, you really have to have something like this, unless you're a professional model builder. I've used this on the other parts of the ship to this point. So let me go ahead and show you how those are looking and what I used on those as far as the spine and the propulsion unit. All right, so as I detailed in previous videos, I used this set to do a couple of things. To put on the camouflage looking detail onto the propulsion unit and onto the spine. And then keep in mind, these are all very stark colors. They're going to be blended together once I'm all done. So that's one of the applications, which is really nice because it gives some added view of detail onto the parts that don't really have any detail. The second part are areas like this here. As you can see, some distinct German gray, medium gray, and then some lighter gray. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And likewise on this part here. And again, so these are very stark. They're all going to be blended together, but these particular parts, as well as the command sphere, have very distinct paneling. And so that's what these other things accomplish. So the idea is, and I did it here as well, I started by painting the whole thing with German gray. I then masked off the parts that I want to remain the dark German gray, and I did a neutral gray. And left the masks on for the German gray, put additional masks over the parts that were going to stay neutral gray, and then finished with a light gray, and I have to look that up, but I forget which one I used. I think it's like a JN gray or something. I have to look that up, but it's a lighter gray. And finished off at the top, then pulled all the masks off, and in the end you see that very distinct different pattern. I'll do the same thing on the command module. So what I need to do now is mask off the parts that are going to remain the darkest German gray. All right, so let me show you the instructions and how I'll be doing that. All right, and here is one of the instruction sheets. Very detailed instructions on how to go about masking it. In addition, Lou has fantastic videos that he posts every week, and he does have a video build, several videos actually, building his own Discovery and showing how he's using these. He does it with all of his masks, so it's quite educational and very easy to use. So in addition, he has some really nice pictures of the actual studio model and his model, giving you some ideas of how to go about placing some of those. So that's very helpful as well. Very, very helpful. And there you go. So there's an example of how you would apply some of those. In fact, this is the back ring to this, or the back collar. And that's what I'll be using. So very, very straightforward. So basically I can just look at that and follow his instructions and use the ones that I'm using from the set to do that. And this is kind of the result I'm going for. Quite beautiful. All right. And again, as you can see, so he starts with some very stark differences in colors, but then once he blends them all together, like you see there, you're not going to see that. It's going to show distinctions, but it's all going to have a general whitish gray look to it when you're done. All right, so here are some of the remaining sheets of the vinyl, and quite extensive set. So here are ones for some of the concentric rings, like on the top and the bottom. Here are the pod bay doors, so you can use it to mask certain corners of it, which you have to do. These parts here are very unique. They are curved and angled so that when you put them onto a curved surface, the sphere, they make a straight line around the circle, around the perimeter, that kind of thing, or up and down. So very, very nice. Here's another one, some more of those. There's another part of the kit. Some tiny little squares that you can put on for different sections to do them. That one right there, this big curved line, also angled, goes around the circumference in the center. And then you have, like this top ring, you have the little one which goes around for the top part. This ring right here. And you can cut it and cut pieces so that you can mask off the parts that you want to stay dark. All right, so very, very extensive set. Very, very nice, quite excellent. And it's really going to help me to super detail this kit. It already has. So now I'm just working on the last part, which is the command sphere. And then I'll be ready to put a blending coat over the entire thing. Here's another set. Little teeny circles within squares that you can use to put over, like that exhaust, well, the rocket vent right there. So if I want to paint that some kind of a metallic, I just put that circle over it and I can airbrush it and get only that part. Very nice. Here's the ones for the doors themselves, the little pattern. So you could take out these little triangles and put them over top of the parts that you want to keep dark and light and so on. A whole bunch of more little patterns there. Try to get a focus on that. Okay. And then a variety of other pieces. So really, really nice, really nice masking set. All right, so enough talk about that. Let me go ahead and get to it, and let me start masking off the sections that are going to stay the dark gray, and we'll go ahead and get this sphere going. All right, and I have finished masking the parts that I want to stay this dark German gray, including that iconic little image on the front where you have that little stripping coming down and going over to the left, which isn't really molded into this kit, but I like that part on it. So, and I did mostly smaller little bits, those little squares there, of course. I tried to follow some of the actual imagery from the movie, including that part, as I said, and then like the sections there on the doors that are the darker. This one isn't going to be closed it'll be open, so you won't really see too much on that. That little section there, there's a little dark one up there. And other than that, I try to put bits where it looked like it was on the ship in the movie. And then I also did the back collar. And there's going to be more sections that are going to be darker than the rest of it. So it's not just going to be two colors. This is simply the first pass of the German gray. And what I'm going to do on the sphere that I didn't do on the other parts is I'm going to go with 4 different shades of gray instead of just 3. When I did the other back sections, I had the German gray on the bottom, then followed by a neutral gray, and then in the end I did one more pass, let's see if I got the right one here, of the royal light gray. So what I want to do though is one additional gray that I have, which is a little darker than the lightest one, and that is a light sea gray. So these are the 4 gradations, so the dark, medium, a little bit lighter, lightest of all. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I already have what I want to stay this color. I'm going to go ahead and put a coat of the neutral gray over the whole thing and let that dry overnight, and then I'll start doing the second phase of masking. All right. Alright, so now I put a coating of neutral gray onto it, and I still have the parts masked that have the German gray underneath it. So now I put a second level of masks where it's going to stay this neutral gray. And I'm just kind of going by some of the shots of the ship from the movie, and it seems like most of the trenches on the top and the bottom are kind of the mid-dark gray, but not the darkest, with a few spots that are darker. So a lot more of this kind of a dark gray than the other one. So, all right, so now what I'll do is get a coating of the next gray, which is light sea gray. And then we'll repeat the process for the last one, which is the royal light gray. All right, let me go ahead and get that coating on there, and we'll let that dry as well. All right, and then here's the final masking that I'm doing, getting ready to put on the last coat of gray, which will be royal light gray. And right now the coating on here is light sea gray, so a little bit darker. So I'm going to do the last painting of it. This one has a little more broad panels, and they're more of the vertical ones, up and down panels, some of these parts on the front here. And again, I tried to match up somewhat with the film, like this whole section with the airlock is a different color than the rest of it. But it's by no means perfect and exactly screen accurate, but it's close enough for my taste. All right, so this will be the last one, and then once I get that coating of paint on it, I'll go ahead and do some sanding, well, removing of all the masks. So I still have the masks over the German gray, over the neutral gray, and over the light sea gray. So this is the last one, and then we'll be ready to take it apart and start finishing this up. Okay. All right, and here is the final coating of the gray on here, and I removed all the masks. So you can see the distinct patterns, the distinct different colors. I've had to patch up just a few little spots that pulled away from the paint, and there's a few more I got to finish up, like right there. But generally it turned out really nice. The vinyl's the way to go for masking because it sticks well to the plastic, and you don't get it typically pulling away the paint. Just a little bit of it stuck onto it. You always want to make sure that the coat you put on fully dries, typically overnight, before you try to take it off. And that's the best way to get that. And look at the back, that looks really cool. All those little dark and light panels, different colors, really cool. Alright, so this is all complete. So what I will have to do now for the whole kit is do a blending coat of a light gray that I will mist over the whole thing, so that it will blend all these together and lighten up the dark ones, and blend all the panels so you don't have this stark difference between the different colors. And the final look will be a generally light gray ship all over, but you'll still be able to see the definition between the different panels. And that'll be done on the entire kit, from the command module all the way back through the spine to the back propulsion unit. So, all right. So what I'll end up doing is probably putting this mostly together and painting it so I can get a nice homogeneous color across it all. And the color that I decided to go with, it's not going to be the final one, let me see, right here, is this JN gray. And it's lighter than all the other ones, but what I'll do is, this bottle is about maybe 3/4 full. I'm going to top it off with some white, mix it up real good. I want to play with it and do some tests first before I do the final painting. But I want to go ahead and make sure that it looks the way I want it to be. Not too dark, but not too light either. I want it to just lightly blend over these colors so that they just meld together and have that distinctive look of the ship. So, all right, so fantastic. So this is ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video for this week. We're getting very close to finishing this up. In fact, I should finish it up. I will finish it up by the next video, which should be within about a week. Wonderfest is coming up quickly. It's going to be, today is Wednesday, the 23rd, so a week from this Saturday. So I got to get this all finished up, and it's pretty much done. Once I get this all painted, I'm ready to go ahead and start putting the interior in, which is done. Finishing off the lights, finishing the painting, and I'm working on the base, which I'll give you a quick shot. I'll show you more of that next week. But the base is nearly done as well. And then we'll get this video wrapped up just in time for Wonderfest. All right. So thank you again to all my subscribers, all my new subscribers, and look forward to showing you this finale. All right. Thank you.